Well, our first episode went pretty good, so I thought, why don't we do episode 2? And when I was thinking about doing this, I've been thinking about kind of doing this for a while. And as I was thinking about doing it, I thought the one thing that I really want to do or get across is to talk baseball. Because I think you see a lot of people talk NBA, NFL, football, basketball. Like, those are the happenings that most people are talking about or that most kids are debating. And nobody ever talks about baseball. Frankly, baseball gets very disrespected. And I understand if baseball is like not your cup of tea. I get it. If you played it when you were younger and you wanted to go play basketball, wanted to go play football, that's fine. Or like you can't sit through and watch a game because there's not flashy dunks or interceptions or sacks or hard-hitting plays. It's not as fast-paced or fast motion. I understand. But that cannot be your cup of tea, but don't disrespect it. And I think people turn I'm not interested in the baseball into disrespect, and it really gets on my nerves because baseball's one of the best games out there. I've always believed, and I've heard people say that when baseball is played at its highest, which is exactly what you got in the postseason this last year, especially in the World Series against the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, Game 3, a little bit of Game 6, and especially Game 6 when you have plays like this.
Drilled to left field and deep, and gone! No way! Miguel Rojas out in Toronto.
Yeah, he sat all over a slider and he got it. And he get it. When he got the barrel to the ball right there, we talk about a slider.
Varsho, roller to second. Rojas comes home in time, and it's Miguel Rojas who ties it in the top of the ninth. Fly ball to left field. Hernandez on the run with Pages over his head. Pages runs him over, makes the catch. Smith, it's a high fly ball to deep left field. It's got a chance. It is gone. It's Will Smith in Game 7.
Hanging breaking ball, slider right there. He knew it.
Said go ball. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Kirk bounces one up the middle. Bats to the back. Over to first to beat the champ. You gotta knock him out. The Dodgers stand tall and win back-to-back titles.
What you just watched, as a sports fan, I don't care if you don't like the MLB or baseball's boring. You're not finding anything better than that. Bottom of the ninth, 1 out, Rojas throw to the plate to make it 2 outs while bases are loaded, stumbles, and literally throws a laser to Will Smith just like inches in time before the runner is safe. And then you got to get your 3rd out, and you got freaking Andy Pages and Kiki Hernandez running right into each other. I mean, you are not finding anything out there, NBA, NFL, hockey, anything probably more exciting than the conclusion of that game. And like I said, baseball, when it's at its highest, which isn't very often, but when it's at its highest, like you just watched, it is the best sport, the best game to watch. I think baseball does an amazing job with honoring their history. Like I said in episode 1, I think you can't really tell me that this is the greatest thing that we're watching if you don't understand your history. And I think Christopher Mad Dog Russo said it best when he said this.
If you want to consider yourself a great fan of the particular team that you're rooting for, you get a lot more credibility with guys like me who, look at it a little more historically, if you know something about the team's tradition. And there's too many, and not just New Yorkers, all fans. The recency bias drives you crazy. They don't know when the team originated. They don't know where the team played. They don't know who coached. They know nothing about the history of the franchise, yet they consider themselves huge Knicks fans or huge Dodger fans or huge Yankee fans. I mean, the Yankees' history, everybody's heard of Babe Ruth, so it's a little different. But you get the idea. They have no idea. And it's a little tricky. So when somebody tells me, Jalen Brunson's the best Knick of all time, and then they can't tell me Willis Reed's number, I mean, the whole world knows Willis Reed's number. So from that, who follows the Knicks. So I can't take it seriously. Now, does Ben Stiller know his?
I think that just sums it up perfectly, especially for people in my generation. The recency bias just drives you insane. And I think you just can't. There's a lot of people that can be sports fans, but if you want to be a good, solid sports fan, you got to know a little bit about what you're talking about. And I think as a baseball fan, my original point, baseball does an amazing job of, whether you're watching it, you go to these ballparks, you go to these stadiums, they do an amazing job honoring, giving homage to the history, to the players. The different franchises do an amazing job at some of these ballparks, giving homage to the players that pretty much paved the way to what we see today, not just for their franchise, but for baseball. And what they did, what their numbers mean, what they represent history-wise. Baseball does an amazing job honoring that. So does the NFL, but the NBA, frankly, does it the worst. They're terrible at it. And that's one thing, as I've been reading this book, which I'm going to pull a lot of information about the player that I'm talking about today from it. It's just, baseball is such a fascinating game. It's been around forever, since 1900s. Beginning of the 1900s, baseball has been around for over probably, we're in 2026, 1900s, 130 years, probably even more. And there's just so many stories, so many things that get captivated. And baseball just has all these cool stories, amazing people that played the game. And if you love history, I want people to understand. I don't care if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. But I'm hoping that maybe a little bit of information that I can give you from some of these players that you might find it fascinating, you might find it cool, you might have a little bit more respect for baseball and the game, and what it's done, just not for sports in general, but American history. And that's kind of my goal, and I'm excited for the first player that I'm going to be talking about. His name is Bullet Rogan. When baseball fans hear the name Joe Rogan, most people think of the famous podcaster, but that's not who we're talking about today. Nearly 100 years before microphones and million-dollar podcast deals, there was another Joe Rogan. A man many historians believe was one of the greatest baseball players to ever step foot onto a diamond. His nickname? Bullet Joe Rogan. He could throw blazing fastballs, hit with power, steal bases, and dominate the Negro Leagues in ways very few players ever had. Today, we'll be telling the story of one of baseball's most overlooked legends. Bullet Rogan was born on July 28, 1989 in Oklahoma. Growing up in the segregated United States, opportunities for black baseball players were extremely limited. Major League Baseball was closed for black athletes. Instead, the greatest black players built their own leagues and teams, creating some of the highest quality baseball in the world. Rogan would soon become one of its brightest stars. After serving in the U.S. military, Rogan joined the legendary Kansas City Monarchs. The Monarchs quickly realized they had someone special. He's not just a pitcher. He was an all-around superstar. Bullet Rogan helped lead the Monarchs to the first title in Kansas City sports history as the Monarchs won the Negro League Championships in 1924. Today and around the world, everybody knows of Shohei Ohtani, especially what he did last year in the NLCS when he did this.
Into this series, as Churios strikes out in the NLCS. That's a called strike three. Ohtani paints with 100-mile-an-hour fastball. What a start for the LCS, and there goes Ohtani. Shohei lighting up the highlights already. Hot hitters for the Brewers. And a swing and a miss.
That doesn't matter, but I'm making it.
He was money. Oh my goodness! Shohei Ohtani! Wow! Up and over the roof!
No runs.
1-2 on Teray. And a swing and a miss. It's another strikeout. 1-2 the count. Ohtani, did he? Ohtani! Ohtani has done it again! His third home run!
To absolutely watch Ohtani nuke absolutely 3 home runs and then score 6 shutout innings with 10 Ks all in one game, it's phenomenal. But Joe Rogan was doing that over a century ago. On the mound, he threw one of the fastest fastballs in baseball. At the plate, he consistently hit over 300. He could hit home runs, steal bases, play the outfield when he wasn't pitching. There simply wasn't another player quite like him. During the 1920s, Rogan became one of the biggest stars in the Negro Leagues. Season after season, he piled up victories. Many historians estimate he won well over 200 games during his professional career. Even more impressive, he wasn't just winning games, he was one of the league's best hitters at the same time. Imagine having your ace pitcher also bat in the middle of the lineup. That's exactly what the Monarchs had. Some of the greatest players even spoke highly of Bullet Joe Rogan. Legendary pitcher Satchel Paige once suggested Rogan was the greatest player he had ever seen. That says a lot. Paige played against countless Hall of Famers, yet Bullet Joe Rogan stood above them in his eyes. Unfortunately, the color barrier kept Rogan from ever playing in the major leagues. He spent most of his prime in the Negro Leagues. By the time MLB inaugurated with Jackie Robinson in 1947, Rogan had already retired. We'll never know exactly how his numbers would have compared against the major league competition, but historians agree he absolutely had the talent. In 1998, decades after playing his career, Bullet Joe Rogan finally was inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. It was long overdue for a player who had helped shape baseball history. Today, many baseball historians rank him among one of the greatest Negro players ever. Bullet Joe Rogan wasn't just an incredible pitcher. He wasn't just a great hitter. He wasn't just an outstanding athlete. He proved that greatness existed outside of Major League Baseball during its segregation. Without players like Rogan, the history of baseball would be incomplete. And while his name may not be recognized today, he impacted the game throughout history to what it is today. Bullet Joe Rogan may be one of the greatest baseball players casual fans have never heard of. A dominant pitcher, a dangerous hitter, a leader of one of the Negro League's most iconic franchises. That is Bullet Joe Rogan.